Welcome, welcome! It's Mud Dog with the TexasSpaceNavy bringing you another Star Citizen video. And if my voice cracks a little bit during this video, I apologize. I have been trying to get this to work for about the 6th time now. I've had some issues. One of my accounts didn't even show everything up. So I do apologize ahead of time. Now, what is today's video about? It's about this Defend the System sale that they have going on for Xenothreat version 2. I'll talk more about Xenothreat tomorrow, but today I wanted to just talk about this sale that they've got going on in support of Xenothreat. You know, they do like a sale every so often for different things. I guess this is August sale. We'll see. All right, let's get into it. So they request your support, and in order to get your support, they're going to ask you to buy a ship. As you can see, there are quite a few ships available for sale. We're going to go into each one of them and talk about them and how they will actually work in this particular mission. Let's start with the Anvil Arrow. This is a stealthy light fighter type ship. It comes with a lot of weapons. Was it 4 guns, I believe? 2 on the turret, 2 underneath, something like that. It's a formidable ship. It's very maneuverable. Like I said, it's a little bit stealthy. Really great light fighter. Is it the best light fighter? Well, I don't know. The Gladius here from Anvil, or Aegis, sorry, would dispute which one's better. The Gladius has been around for many years, hundreds of years now. It's actually getting long in the tooth in the UBE Navy. And but it's still reliable. It's been around that long, but it's because it's good. It's a great ship. Comes with 3 weapons. I believe all size 3 mounts on this thing, and it's very maneuverable as well. Not quite as maneuverable as the Arrow, but it's a little bit tankier. I think it has better shields, maybe even more armor than the Arrow does. We'll have to wait and see when armor gets in the game on if that's true. Now, at $75, is the Arrow just as good or better than the Gladius? Well, it really depends on the pilot. I think I probably prefer the Gladius in combat, the Arrow for just normal flight. That's just me. Let's move up to $165 with the Anvil Gladiator. Now, the Gladiator is one of the first ships they ever modeled in the game. They had to go back and redo it. This ship is a carrier-based bomber, is the best way to put it. So it's not a real big ship. You can fly with a gunner on there, which is recommended because the pilot doesn't have control of the guns anymore like it did at one point in Star Citizen history. But it does also come with size 5 torpedoes and a host of other missiles. This thing can throw a lot of damage downrange. You could change out the missiles for different things as well. That's up to you. But this thing could be effective in Xenothreat against, you know, the bigger ships. But some of the other ships later on in this list, you'll probably want to use more. I would say that the light fighters will probably be okay engaging in dogfights, but taking on the bigger ships, they may struggle a little bit, depending on how many of the big ships are in the game at the time. But the Gladiator, again, it's, you know, I don't know. It's a poor child. I mean, I like the Gladiator. I really do. Or I want to like it. But the size 5 torps really don't do a whole lot. So, is this the ship to take with you? I would probably take something else. Now, the Aegis Saber, we're getting into the medium fighter range. It's $170. It's another stealth type ship. It is pretty formidable. I mean, it's maneuverable. It's got 4 size 3 mounts, so it can pack a punch with the guns. You know, some people think with distortion and or energy and ballistic, this thing is really devastating. You would have to play with what combination of guns you like the most, but I can tell you, I've always liked the Saber. They did take a shield away from it, but it's no less dangerous. It's a great ship to fly in this event. You'll be able to really take out a lot of enemy fighters. The Super Hornet, another great ship. You can put a gunner in it. You don't have to. You can actually slave the top turret to the pilot. This is one of the only ships that you can do that with. Kind of needs it though, because those guns don't pack much of a punch. You would probably want to reconfigure the Super Hornet to suit your needs on what kind of guns you want to use. This thing is a tank, however, even though armor is not in the game yet. When it does get in the game, it's going to be a really nasty surprise to a lot of people flying with a Super Hornet. Up next is the Anvil Hurricane. This too is a heavy fighter. I say two. It's the first heavy fighter on the list, but this one is the sleeper of all these. Now, all these ships, if it's you and a buddy, this is the ship I want you to get. It is so much fun. It throws so much firepower downrange. I mean, think of it. You get 2 guns for the pilot up here, and then you get the equivalent of what the Saber can pack just for the turret gunner. That's right, 4 size 3s on that turret up there. It is nasty. Now, what this thing makes up for with firepower is the lack of armor. But I can tell you from doing the Ninetales event last weekend with my org mates and having a good gunner, man, this thing is so awesome. And it's so much fun to use. It's very maneuverable for a heavy fighter. This is the bomb. It is great. It's a great ship. But again, you have to have a gunner for it to be used to its full capabilities, because we have not bladed those guns or put an NPC up there yet. So definitely make sure you have somebody that wants to gun for you, because if you do, you won't regret this ship. It's a lot of fun. That brings us to the $260 price point and the Vanguard Warden. The Vanguard Warden is another heavy fighter. This was one of the premier heavy fighters. It's a long-range heavy fighter. This thing's supposed to be able to survive with just pretty much the chassis intact and limping along. It has 4 size 2s fixed on the nose right here. And then in the chin, this usually comes stock with a size 4 gimbaled. Now you can put a size 5 mount and have it fixed on the front and really pack some punch with that gun. It also has a turret, which has a couple of size 2s on it. You know, honestly, if you're gonna fly a ship and you want to be super effective with 2 people, go to the Hurricane over the Warden right now. The Vanguard series has always underperformed for what it is supposed to be. Maybe that's because we can't let it fulfill the role that it was designed for as a long-range fighter. I don't know. I just know that I feel like the Vanguard needs a little extra help. Maybe they make those size 4s into size 3s. I mean, size 2s into size 3s. That would help. You know, I don't know what they need to do to fix this thing, but it's not the best ship out there. It's not what everybody wishes it would be. It needs help. Then we go to the Vanguard Sentinel at $275. This is like the Warden, only it has an EMP as well, and it'll have a little bit different loadout as far as the guns, but the EMP comes stock on the Sentinel. How that works in the game right now, well, the EMP needs to be overhauled as well. Let's just leave it at that and move on. Up next is a Retaliator Bomber. The Bomber here can fit 5 people on it, all of you doing tasks. You can have the pilot that's flying and operating the size 9 torpedoes, all 6 of them. Or you can have people running the turrets on it, and I should say, people running the turrets. It's got 5 turrets on it with size 3 Panther repeaters stock on there. Retaliator Bomber is phenomenal in this role, in this Xenothreat dynamic event. Because you got the guys that can take on the fighters, all in those turret seats, and then you can really take on the bigger ships like the Hammerheads and the Idrises with the size 9 torpedoes it carries. So it can be a really phenomenal ship to have, you know, right there at that scene, or in, you know, wherever the battle is taking place. You're going to be able to dish it out. But again, you're going to want 5 gunners to help you fill this thing out to live up to its potential. So that's a pretty high level of commitment from folks. You're going to want to have a group. Like, I usually run Xenothreat with my org. we usually have, 15 to 20 people that are running it. So it's no problem filling up one of these type ships. If you're interested in joining an org, I recommend you find one you like. But if you're interested in joining my org, it's named Texas. That information will be in the description of the video. Put an application on the RSI site, put one on the Gilded, and maybe you can get involved with Xenothreat tomorrow night when it hits. Yeah. Then we go to the Vanguard Harbinger at $290. This thing is a bomber version of the Warden. It comes with size 5 torpedoes like the Gladiator has. It also has a missile turret up here for your gunner. So it's slightly different than the Warden, and it makes it slightly more usable in this fight. Now you can change the missile missile turret out with guns, I believe. That would make this thing have more longevity when you're out in the arena, when you're fighting. But again, the size 5 torps don't necessarily do a whole lot to those bigger ships right now. So those probably need to be overhauled just a little bit. But this thing is definitely more usable than the Warden, and I would recommend it as a decent option in the Xenothreat mission. And the last here, we have the Eclipse. Now the Eclipse is a stealth bomber made by Aegis. Aegis has come up with a lot of this stealth technology for this second generation fighters, or whatever you want to call them. The Eclipse can carry 3 size 9s, so that's about half the payload as the Retaliator. But it's a single seater. And now this thing isn't going to be good against fighters. You're just not going to want to dogfight in the Eclipse. You could probably kill a few, but it's just not ideal. You only get 2 guns. This thing more relies on its stealth and the ability to, land shots with those size 9 torpedoes. So, which would I choose if I had a group of 6 people going into combat against an Idris? If they all had Eclipses, I would definitely do that. If they don't, then you may want to go with the Retaliator bomber. We used these to great effect during the original Xenothreat. We had a squadron of Eclipses and maybe 1 or 2 Retaliators, and every time an Idris jumped in, we were able to dispatch it within a minute, launching all those torpedoes. So fantastic to have as a squadron in this particular event. Not so much if you're soloing a lot. Now you can definitely help for sure, but you're gonna have to go back to base and reload or rearm torpedoes quite frequently. So again, this one was better for longevity in the fight, whereas this one's going to cost you a boatload in torpedo cost, and you're going to keep going back unless you can have a squadron. Again, if you go 6 versus 6 people on here versus 6 people in Eclipses, that's 18 torpedoes versus the 6 that you would get on the bomber here. So yeah, I would go with the Eclipse squadron over the Retaliator bomber if you got that many. Don't go the Retaliator bomber, it'll do you justice. All right, let's talk about, sorry, excuse me, my voice is still going out here. Let's talk about these war bond and standard priced packages they have of ships. In the first one, you have the Saber, the Arrow, and the Hurricane, all for $375 real world cash with a war bond. That's a really good deal. You're getting a discount there. You can't go too wrong with those ships. All of them are super freaking fun to fly. Wow, that's a lot of F's. Super freaking fun to fly. Okay. I love them. They're great ships. This is a great buy, okay? If you don't want to use real world cash, or you want to use credit, it's $415 for the lot. Now, if you want to go with the bomber pack, you can get the Retaliator, the Gladiator, and the Eclipse, all for $630. Again, that is a deal. It gives you a discount off of what their pricing is right now. Definitely worth a look if you're wanting to do the bombing gameplay. But 2 of these ships benefit more from having, multiple crew members, or at least 1 extra crew member. Whereas on this one, you only have 1 ship that needs that extra crew member. So keep that in mind. Are you flying with people, or are you not flying with people? On what packages you're going to get. $700 with credit, and Warbond $630. Let's move into the Warbond upgrades. They're going to do the Hurricane, the Retaliator Bomber, and the Vanguard Warden. Those are all available at a discount with a Warbond upgrade. You're going to save about $15 for each one of those ships if you upgrade into them. So their normal pricing, you would save about $15 off of that in the upgrade. Definitely worth a look. So that is the sale that they have going on right now for Xenothreat. I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to last. Probably a week, maybe 2. So if you're going to get something out of this group of ships, now's the time to do it. Remember, these have 6-month insurance. These have a year worth of insurance on them. If that's something you're interested in, keep that in mind. I do appreciate everybody that's tuned in to watch this video. Thank you so much. It's getting a little long, so I'm going to cut it here. I'm Mud Dog with the Texas Space Navy, and I'll see you out in the verse.